This is Mac OS Ken.
Old Apple lawsuits just won't die. Back to school season is back on at Apple, and you cannot outrun F1 the movie. It is Wednesday, the 18th of June, 2025. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Insta360's new X5. Get an invisible selfie stick when you buy an X5 standard bundle at store.insta360.com with code MacOSCan. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. Apple wins some eventually and loses some eventually. At least that's the theory. We start the day with two protracted legal cases against the Cupertino company that will not go away. First, an antitrust case over iCloud is back from the dead. TechCrunch says a California district court on Monday denied a request by Apple to throw out a class action lawsuit that alleges the iPhone maker violates competition laws by forcing users of its devices to back up their critical files and device settings on its cloud storage service, iCloud. U.S. District Judge Yumi Lee had dismissed the case earlier this year, a case that Apple Insider said months ago was originally filed in 2024. According to that report, the original version of the suit alleged Apple was violating antitrust laws by coercing users into using iCloud, then effectively making them pay to have adequate storage space on it. Because that seemed to be the complaint at the time, that Apple's 5 gigabytes of included storage was insufficient. But with nowhere else to go, according to their argument, people had to pay for more storage. In March, Judge Lee disagreed, indicating that Apple was not violating federal or state antitrust laws. Specifically, she said that users were not required to purchase iCloud storage and that the case did not demonstrate that Apple is a monopoly. But if you want to amend your filing, let me know, she said. Only more official sounding. And they did. Back to the TechCrunch piece, which now has plaintiffs complaining that while they can back up photos, videos, documents, and the like to third-party cloud services, users cannot back up a device's core data to those services, nor restore from them. In its motion to dismiss, Apple said, well, duh, security. Only more official sounding. To Judge Lee, these sound like arguments worth hearing. Apple did not comment for the TechCrunch piece, no word on next steps for this case. On the sort of kind of winning side for the Cupertino company, a piece from Apple Insider says Apple has again managed to avoid paying a massive fee in its long-running Optis iPhone wireless patents lawsuit, with the U.S. Court of Appeals throwing out a $300 million verdict. I question their use of the word massive there, but okay. Stretching back 6 years this one, the report says Apple and Optis have been embroiled in a wireless suit over a handful of 4G LTE patents since 2019. Apple has actually lost this case twice, according to the report, though those losses have been reversed twice as of this week's ruling. The third time could be a charm for one of them. Apple Insider says the case has been bounced back to a lower court. The piece cites a Reuters report saying a new trial is required due to a procedural issue that affected the result. A note of confidence for Apple shares from Goldman Sachs, a piece from Insider Monkey. Insider Monkey? I don't even know her monkey. A piece from Insider Monkey says analysts at Goldman Sachs have thrown Apple on a list of stocks that they see as resilient with significant growth potential. Accentuating the positive, a note from the firm says, we are buy-rated on Apple as we believe that the market's focus on slower product revenue growth masks the strength of the Apple ecosystem and associated revenue durability and visibility. They've got a buy rating on the shares, as the note says. Last I saw, Goldman Sachs had a price target on ticker symbol AAPL of $253. Apple's back-to-school sale is back on in the US and some other countries. This year, a piece from Cult of Mac says, they are giving buyers stuff. As part of the deal, the piece says, eligible students and teachers can get Macs and iPads on education pricing, plus an accessory worth up to $179. Not a gift card worth that amount, an actual thing. Of course, it depends on which primary thing the buyer buys. Eligible MacBooks score an accessory worth up to $179, while eligible iPads get an accessory worth up to $129. The buyer already has or just doesn't want the thing Apple's offering, they can get an accessory worth less, according to the piece. Conversely, folks who want something more valuable can kick in some quatloos of their own to make that happen. Hey, remember on Wheel of Fortune decades ago when people would win money, but they didn't actually get the money? They had to spend the money they won on a random collection of nice, though unnecessary prizes. And they'd end up with enough money left over that they'd pretty much have to buy a ceramic dog that nobody ever bought unless they had to. Kind of like when you have 5 tickets left over at skee ball and you have to get that stupid pencil. Anyway, Apple's giving out things as part of this year's back-to-school sales promotion. That is in addition to the education discount available. Some iPads and Macs are eligible. Mac Mini, Mac Studio, Apple Watch, and iPhones are not. The promotion runs through the 30th of September. Get ready to spin the wheel. Apple's stocking up its Refurbished store, this time with last fall's Apple Watch. Mac Rumors says Apple Watch Series 10 has landed among the refurbs here in the US. As usual for the practically new kit, the watches cost about 15% less than their truly new counterparts. Unlike the MacBook Air models we talked about earlier this week, the watch selection is pretty slim to start. As of right now, the piece says, Apple is only offering 46mm Apple Watch Series 10 models in either jet black aluminum or slate titanium, but additional models in other colors and sizes will likely be added in the not-too-distant future. Deal's not a bad one if you like to buy from Apple directly. That said, Mac Rumors points out that other sellers often have better discounts on truly new models, and probably a wider selection right now as well. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Insta360, and their new 360-degree camera, X5. I've had a webcam from Insta360 for a little over a year now, and it has been great. But I've learned more about them this week. Did you know that Insta360 was the first 360-degree camera sold in Apple stores? Been there since 2018. They are really excited about Apple Vision Pro support for the Insta360 X5 coming in Vision OS 26. But even if you don't have Apple's headset, there is a lot to love about X5. Like how the 360 shooting and associated app let you pull several angles into your edits, kind of like you'd shot with a few cameras instead of just the one. Or the larger sensors, delivering Insta360's best 8K 360-degree video yet. The lenses are stronger, the sound is better. There's a lot to love about X5. Head to store.insta360.com to see what they have and use code MacOSKen for a free 45-inch invisible selfie stick with your X5 standard bundle purchase. The pull disappears from 360-degree footage, leaving people to wonder how you get the shots you got. It's a $24.99 value, but it is free for the first 30 people who go to store.insta360.com and buy an X5 standard bundle with code MacOSKen. Shoot every angle at once. Get your free invisible selfie stick when you buy an X5 standard bundle with code MacOSKen. Don't forget that code MacOSKen at store.insta360.com. The second season of The Buccaneers has started its run on Apple TV+. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac teases the show, saying it follows the culture clash of a group of young American girls arriving in 1870s London. In Season 2, all of the girls have been forced to mature and now have to fight to be heard, tackling romance, jealousy, births, and death. It's based on an unfinished novel by Edith Wharton, which is pretty brilliant if you think about it. Could go on forever. At the same time, Apple could just kill it one day and be like, "What? It was an unfinished novel. What do you want from me?" Actually, somebody did go back and finish the novel later, though I'm not sure it's canon in the Wharton verse. Anyway, the whole first season is available to stream now. The first episode of The Buccaneers Season 2 is also up now on Apple TV+. And now, get ready to have all of the air sucked out of the room by F1, the movie, as opposed to F1, the Shakespearean tragedy. It's a Roger Ebert joke, and I love it. Remember when all Apple seemed to be able to talk about was the dystopian workplace drama Severance? Apple CEO Tim Cook and Brad Pitt, the movie star from F1, the movie, crashed a Severance panel over the weekend to promote F1, the movie. Okay, that's not totally fair. A piece from Mac Rumors says Cook and Pitt surprised fans at Apple's Glass Tabernacle on Fifth Avenue in NYC. According to the piece, the unexpected appearance followed a packed panel discussion featuring Severance cast members Adam Scott, Patricia Arquette, and Britt Lauer to chat about their work on the hit Apple TV Plus show. Apparently, Pitt said nice things about the movie. Would have been hilarious had he done otherwise. If you're nerdy about both filmmaking and Apple gear, double nerd. Also, there's a piece on Apple Insider you might want to check out. Actually, skip that and go to the source material. That's at Wired. The piece says the production used, well, I can't really tell from the Apple Insider piece. Maybe it's parts from an iPhone. Maybe it's a heavily modified iPhone. Basically, they're shooting from the F1 car in F1 the movie in ways that have never been done for film using Apple's gear-making acumen. Like I say, there's a lot more about it in a piece from Wired. You can read about it there or just enjoy the show, because reviews indicate it's enjoyable. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac pulls excerpts from a few reviews. Collider says, F1 is an absolute blast and one of the most exciting films to come out this summer, a film that will put you on the edge of your seat and make you glad that filmmakers like Top Gun Maverick director Joseph Kosinski are still making films like this today. Rolling Stone says, this is what blockbusters used to look like. Come for the most impressive, lustrous car that a gajillion-dollar budget can buy. The reason to stay, however, is the driver. Empire. Joseph Kosinski has done it again. F1 combines unparalleled access, pioneering filmmaking, and moving redemption arcs to deliver an exhilarating cinematic experience. Associated Press. A fine-tuned machine of a movie that in its most riveting racing scenes approaches a kind of high-speed splendor. And Entertainment Weekly. F1 has no peer in its dedication to speed, movement, and visceral excitement. No peer in its dedication to speed? What about speed? Or as the French call it, speed. That's an Eddie Izzard joke, and I love it. There's an IMAX early screening of F1 The Movie next Monday, the 23rd of June. The film opens outside the U.S. 1 week from today, Wednesday, the 25th of June. Look for it to take over the multiplex in the U.S. next Friday, the 27th. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by Insta360's new X5. Get an invisible selfie stick when you buy an X5 standard bundle at store.insta360.com with code MacOSCan. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOScan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOScan at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macoscan.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.